So discussion will now turn to the village board regarding adopting establishing the property tax levy. We can go at this a couple of different ways, whatever the pleasure of the board would be. We could put as one scenario, we could put a motion in place to adopt the 2021 budget summary as it's published on that single sheet. And if that's seconded, then we could proceed to discuss amendments to it, details of it. I'd sort of suggest we proceed in that way, but if somebody has a different pleasure, you want to make some preliminary comments, that's okay too. What's the pleasure of the board? And just a quick follow-up on it, to the extent that the village board desires to make some changes to this document, we need to have a balanced budget. Even backing up one step, we've got some significant challenges confronting the village in terms of revenue and in terms of what people expect for level of services. Not going to be able to reduce the tax levy and maintain or increase the level of service. That just doesn't work. So we're going to deal in the real world part of it, but any changes that are made to this or any amendment, somebody proposes to change something, any addition in one line item area is going to have an offset with a reduction someplace else so we stay in balance. Or if you want to propose a reduction someplace and put the money someplace else. So I think anybody disagree with that? I mean, that's the only way we can proceed with this, is any proposed amendments would have to be balanced. Members of the board, how do you want to proceed?
For discussion purposes, we need to approve this? Is that what you just said?
Well, that's one way to go about it. I mean, unless any objection, for a place to start, we could have a motion to approve this, have it seconded, and then we can get into the discussion and proposed amendments to it. I'm thinking that's the cleanest way to go about doing this, but if somebody has a different thought, I'm all ears.
Well, for that purpose, I will go ahead and move to approve the budget for 2021.
And that would be, just to be clear, that would be as it is published, and that would be for the operating budget, the fire inspection budget, and the capital budget. And just even to read those numbers in, you're all looking at the document. Revenues and expenditures for the 2021 proposed operating budget, $2,813,289. For the fire inspection budget for 2021, proposed balanced revenues and expenditures, $46,984. And for the capital budget for 2021, proposed balanced revenue and expenditures would be $220,000. I believe that's the intent of your motion, Trustee Stigler?
Yes, it is.
Okay, is there a second to the motion?
I'll second the motion.
Okay, so the motion was made by Trustee Stigler to approve the 2021 budget summary proposed, seconded by Trustee Stigler. So at this point in time, we will proceed with any discussion of proposed amendments, and we'll move forward from there. Who'd like to speak? And if you would like to speak, if you want to address any of the questions that were posed, suggestions, questions that were posed by any of the citizens that spoke, this would be a good time to do that.
I don't have any amendments to offer, Mr. President, but I would just like to offer that what we're professing to the people, both here and watching, and all the residents of the village of Waukesha, that if we adopt this budget as it's published right now, we're committing to a total capital expenditure plan for the 2021 budget of $220,000.
Okay, well, I'll propose an amendment for what it is worth, and that would be to decrease the proposed operating budget for 2021, the $2,813,289. And I'm gonna do the quick math on that here. By $80,000, if I did that correctly, that would be $2,733 and, $2,733,289, and increase the capital budget by that same amount of $80,000, so increase the capital budget from $220,000 to $300,000, so I will propose that amendment. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, seconded by Trustee Stigler. Discussion.
So what are you proposing that $80,000 comes out of?
Good question. I'm proposing that in terms of the expenditure side of it, that would come out of the public safety budget, the $1,179,610. Do the math on that. You tracking with me? Is that $1,099,610? You got the same number on that, Mike?
I didn't do the math.
All right, well, I'll do it again. Public safety is $1,179,610, correct?
Right?
If I take 80 off of that, I've got $1,099,610. And on the revenue side, because we gotta match that up above, I would take the $1,496,636 and drop that by 80,000, so that's $1,496,636. That's 80,000. I've got $1,416,636. Can you match that?
$1,416,636,
That's what I've got.
right?
So then, on the capital budget side, the tax revenue of $200,000 would go to $280,000. And on the bottom, on the expenditure part of it, I would add the $80,000 to the $75,000 for public works. And I believe that would make that $155,000. Do you agree with that?
Yep.
Okay. Get a little deep in the weeds. Did everybody follow that? Discussion. I guess while you're thinking there, just on the discussion part of it, and this is just my personal sense of it, there was concern expressed about the significant increase in cost for salaries and wages, particularly for the fire department. I think I speak for the rest of the village board. I think there's a level of concern about that. We're not going to address or resolve that tonight. I think we're going to have to, staff members, elected officials, when we get other people involved, we're going to have to dig deep on that and try to see what we can do to make that work. Further discussion. And one of the things, and I'm giving people an opportunity here to think and talk, I mean, one of the realities that we deal with here as elected officials representing you, and this isn't just us, it's a challenge for all of us to make this work. I'm gonna take just a little bit of a step backward. We don't want this to, at least I don't think we want this to come off too dark. There is good news. If you look at our village of Waukesha here compared to other municipalities, and I will give credit to this to people who came before any of the people sitting here at the board or what or not. I mean, you look at the thing over my shoulder there. We were a town since 1842. This community, the leadership of this, I think for many, many years, was by people who were, I don't want to wax political on this, but there were people who were somewhat reserved in terms of their expenditures. They lived within their means. I think that's the history of the town of Waukesha here. We're in some regards in an enviable position because the village of Waukesha, for all intents and purposes, is debt-free. And Brandon might tell us if we're here, but I think, and Chief Buchholz might know the answer, but I think technically we have an outstanding debt or obligation to Waukesha County, which is an interest-free loan. Don't hold me to it, we've been paying that off. There's 3 or 4 more years to pay off on that. It's like $2,000 a year. It's 6 or 8 grand. I mean, in the big picture, that's a big sum of money, but when we're talking about a $3 million annual budget, that's not a significant amount of money. Aside from that, we are debt-free. All of the facilities, the equipment, the land, all of the assets are paid off. If you were to look back, and I believe this is publicly available on the website, we not only are debt-free and have our assets paid for it, we have cash in hand. And don't advertise that a whole lot, but when the auditors closed out the books in December of 2020, some 11 months ago, give or take, we had and I think you may see that reflected in some of this paperwork, we had a cash balance, cash in the bank of a little bit north of $2.1 million. We had, and again, these are really loose numbers, but in our operating fund, we had cash on hand of approximately $750,000. The town, at that point in time, now the village, had a cash worth of approximately $3 million. Where that gets challenging a bit is because we do have facility needs, we've got equipment needs, we've got infrastructure needs. I mean, those are the 3 big capital campaign components. Any of you who have been at past meetings or look at things we've done, we collectively have an appetite that's bigger than our pocketbook, even though we have that amount of money in hand. Equipment and equipment replacement is expensive. Road repavement is expensive. Facilities construction is expensive. So even though we got that money, it's still not enough to serve all of our needs. We did look, and we've had discussion about building a new fire station, building new public works buildings. Some of that goes back to 2017, I believe, when the town spent between $12,000 and $13,000 to hire an architectural firm to look at facilities improvement. Included an addition to the fire station, for sleeping quarters, salt shed, new public works building. At that point in time, running a bit on memory, that was projected to be $2.5 million worth of potential construction in 2017. That was a plan. We didn't have that amount of money in hand. We don't have enough money to do all the dreams, all the wishes at this point in time for the foreseeable future with the income stream we've got. So we either have to temper the expectations, that's a reality, or we have to find a different income stream. I mean, life would be easy if everybody in the room decided to throw in $100,000 on the way out the door. I mean, I'm being facetious. Our dreams would be answered. I mean, short of donations, it is not feasible, in my judgment, with what we're looking at the way forward, to borrow a significant amount of money without a means to pay it off. Borrowed money is really, really cheap now. It's really, really cheap. But if we have to pay the principal of it off, that's going to put a real pinch on the revenue stream. So, I mean, the challenge that we put forth here as a village board is you're basically going to have to make priorities, temper expectations at the end of the day, and I'm going to shut up here in a minute. I agree with some of the people that spoke. This is probably a decision that probably is best left for the people of the village of Waukesha. We got a village population of about 9,400 people. I think there are some 6,000, between 6,000 and 7,000. Mike might know that better than I do, but don't we have 6,500 or plus people who are eligible to vote, something in that range? I think that's about the right number. Probably some of these decisions need to be made by a larger group than elected officials, or at least we have to have people come out to forums and speak and so forth and tell the village board, your elected officials, what you want. And I'm gonna end up being unkindly, but you cannot, if you understand what's here, you can't come forward and say, cut the taxes, lower the spending, and maintain or increase the level of services. It just does not work, and that's a reality that everybody has to deal with. I've said enough, maybe too much. I would really invite the rest of you to join the conversation.
Well, I'm going to address the capital project that was brought up somewhere online here, about $2 million. That was kind of a number that was thrown out on a worksheet, is when we talked about building a firehouse. And I think when we got to this point in the budget, that kind of went out the window. We don't really have that on our plan at this point. At least in my book, we don't. I think we're going to have to figure out another way to do that. And as Brian stated, there's no money here for that kind of thing. And we either do have to do a referendum, let the taxpayers decide if we want to have a DPW building or addition to the firehouse or either one of those things. And I think that's something that has to be decided by the taxpayers. So I'm on board with doing something to that effect, but I mean, I've been all on board all along about the firehouse addition at least. And the DPW building is way beyond what we need already. We need to do something there pretty fast, because the trucks that we spent a lot of money on are sitting outside and basically deteriorating as we speak here right now. So we need to get something done there one way or another. So that these have some vital needs here. And how we do it, I don't know. But like I said, we worked hard on this budget basically, and there's just everything is here is cost of doing business, as we say. So how to, and as Brian stated, to cut taxes and you know, that's a very popular campaign slogan for everybody to keep, you know, we're gonna cut taxes. Well, that's just doesn't happen. It's just no way it can happen. Cost of doing business does not go down. Anybody that has your own business or even run your own household, you know what the past 10 years did to your budget. It didn't go down, it went up. Everything costs more today. It's the same for the government. We don't get a discount because we're the village of Waukesha. So that's the bottom line, is that we just don't have the money to do the capital projects that we thought we would like to do. Everybody wants new roads, but boy, to pave roads is quite costly. We spent, what was it, $350,000 last year on paving, on Glengarry Road and on, I can't think of the name of it, but anyway, I don't think we totaled more than a mile long paved roads for $350,000. So to me, I don't know how you can think we're gonna pave all the roads in the town, it's just a village. I mean, that would be great if we could, but it just isn't, it's just not in the cards.
Anybody else?
So just so I'm clear, you're no longer in favor of the $3.1 million capital plan for next year that was passed 3 weeks ago?
I don't, if you ask me personally, I don't.
No, I was speaking to Trustee Stigler.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Well, at this point, I don't know how we can do it. I guess it's on the books yet, and so we have to go through, I think, some discussion on it in the future.
Okay.
But that's where I'm at right now. It's up for discussion in my book to either do something differently or find another way to do it. But as I'm trying to say, is there's just no money, and I think it needs to find a way to get the money, referendum or whatever. Well, people say borrow the money because of low interest, but that doesn't work because banks want it back. Just every bank I ever dealt with did.
Okay, so as it stands right now, the budget that we have, if the amendment passes, the vote hasn't been taken yet, we would have $280,000 to spend in capital projects for 2021. That's what the amendment would carry, as I understand it.
Anybody else?
I'd like to see a little bit more put in the capital for a DPW building, but I think that is something that we're gonna have to take to the residents and see what they say. And I believe at 2 meetings ago, we discussed about taking that $3.1 million out, Trustee Doerr. That was on the table.
You have something to the effect that we didn't pass a capital plan of $3.171 million for 2021?
It was on,
Because I'd love to see that vote if that so fact occurred.
it was on the table that we were taking it out because the money just is not there. That was never put into the budget.
Well, when we were talking about the budget, all the talk was about borrowing $2 million to finance it. Let's cut to the chase. That was the talk. It wasn't to take it out, it was to borrow the money. We even went so far as to have the clerk get some tentative rates and payment terms.
Yes, and we also discussed the DPW building along with that and not using the $2 million. Do you remember that? Recall that?
Using what DPW building for what?
No. Looking towards a DPW building rather than a fire department.
All I know is that the board passed a capital plan for $2.171 million for 2021 within the last 4 weeks. I don't remember the exact date, but it was within the last 3 or 4 weeks. If that changes, that's great.
Yeah, we need, at this point in time, and yes, we have, and I think appropriately so, talked about and explored a number of things. I mean, one thing we do, we can take money, and there may be different visions on what it should be. We've got the money to build a new public works building. We could build a new salt storage structure. Go to that in a minute. We've got $2.1 million in the capital plan. Part of the difficulty with that is if we do that, it's not going to be available for other expenses going forward. Roads, equipment, that type of thing. So this is all about priorities. I want to go in a couple of other little bit of directions. And again, some of this is good news, some of it isn't great news, but I mean, if you look at neighboring communities and you go look at this online or follow the newspaper, Village of Big Bend, and I don't mean to step on their toes, They have over $5 million worth of debt, and they have 1,500 people loosely. We've got 9,400 people who live in the town of Waukesha. We've got other needs there we've talked about. Went to 2017 building a salt storage structure. Currently, and this is a capital issue, Waukesha County stores our salt. And we went through this as a board. We have an allocation of 1,600 tons of salt for putting on our roads during the 2020-2021 winter season. They store that, most of that out at Grandview. They've got new facilities. We've been through that. That's wonderful. It comes at a cost. We're paying, I think it was $82 and some odd cents per ton of salt. You can see that's put into the budget here. I think we've got $120,000 roughly for salt for the year. They charge us $8 a ton for storage and handling. That's not unfair or unreasonable. If you take 1,600 tons times $8 a ton, it's $12,800. So it's costing us 12 to 13 grand a year to store salt at Waukesha County. That's the best thing we got going for the minute. I mean, we got a little thing in the back here where we can put a couple of dump trucks full of salt and that's it. So it's inefficient. We have to go there, the people who are driving our routes have to go there to fill up with salt. Most of these trucks are being left outside. They cannot preload with salt because that's going to freeze and they're not going to be able to put it onto the pavement, so they can't preload and put it indoors. We are, at this point in time, we are visitors in their house. If they decided not to do that, we've got an issue or problem. Would it be, albeit for the fact that we have to get a waiver from the state of Wisconsin Department of Natural Resources because of the proximity to our private well to store salt here, we have basically a waiver dispensation to do that now. Even if we could do that, it would be nice in terms of efficiency to have it on site, to be able to take our trucks so they don't sit out there and rust and lose their useful life, to put them indoors, to have them preloaded with salt. Building a salt storage facility, that gets the decision of how much do you want to store? Do you want to store 200 tons, 400 tons, 800 tons, a season's worth? What kind of a price you can buy it at? I mean, the year before last, we kind of got caught with our shorts down because we had an awful lot of a need for that. We had to go out and buy 300 more tons of salt. I don't remember exactly, we paid $130 a ton or something. We paid, and the we is the Residence Village Waukesha, we paid a premium price for that. So that's just one aspect of it. What is the priority to build a salt storage structure here, to put salt in it, versus facilities, versus pave a road or what or not? Good people and reasonable goodwill are going to have different points of view on that. We have to have that discussion. But again, it gets back down to the thing, our wishes are bigger than our resources to do it. I talked today at some length with the town chairman for the town of Vernon. For the most part, and he told me a little bit of where they're at, they basically don't have cash reserves pretty much. They kind of have a continuing line of borrowing to do their projects with. So
Mr. President, we're doing a lot of talking about Big Bend and Vernon and everybody else.
We are, you're correct.
How about if we focus on our budget and move forward?
well, that's fine, but I'm trying to give some people perspective. So if you've got something, are you prepared to vote, sir? All right, if there's no other further discussion, I'll call the question. Does everybody understand the question? We'll do this by roll call vote. All in favor of the proposed amendment, a roll call vote. Supervisor, or rather Trustee Kalinsky.
Aye.
Trustee German.
Aye.
Trustee Doerr.
Nay.
Trustee Stigler.
Aye.
President Fischer, aye. All right, so that passes 4-1. Are there any other proposed amendments to the 2021 budget summary? All right, is someone prepared to make a motion then to approve the budget and incorporate?
Mr. President,
that?
you have a motion. It was made by Trustee Stigler and seconded by Trustee German.
Okay, I'll agree with that. So it incorporates the amendment. Any further discussion on that?
Yes, I will not support this budget. It's why I didn't support the amendment. I still think it does not take into account the needs that we have, and it's still an 8% increase in the operating budget, and it's not something I can support. Even with the $80,000 increase from the amendment, it's still a 25% cut in the funding of the capital plan, a capital plan that has just enormous holes in it.
Okay, well, that's fine. I guess my suggestion to you would be propose an amendment for something that you would support.
I have nothing else to add.
Okay, then we will proceed to vote. Trustee Stigler.
Aye.
Trustee Doerr.
Nay.
Trustee German.
Aye.
Trustee Stigler. Excuse me, Trustee Kalinsky.
Aye.
President Fischer, I vote aye. So 4-1, we have approved the 2021 budget as amended. And then we will go to, I suppose we could have done that in the other order, but we need to basically adopt the property tax levy to fund that budget, and that would be in the amount of, I believe it's $1,696,636 would be the tax levy. Is there a motion to that effect?
I so move.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, so the motion is by Trustee German, seconded by Trustee Kalinsky to establish and approve the property tax levy for 2021 at $1,696,636. Discussion. Okay, I'll assume you are prepared to vote then. We will do that by roll call. Does everyone understand the motion? Okay, Trustee Kalinsky.
Aye.
Trustee German.
Aye.
Trustee Doerr.
Aye.
And Trustee Stigler.
Aye.
And President Fischer, I vote aye. So that is unanimous, 5-0, to approve the 2021, adopt the 2021 property tax levy of $1,696,636. So that concludes the business for tonight. There would be an appropriate time to move to adjourn this meeting at 7:12 p.m. And I just want to make a correction. Did I say we were doing something at 7:30 something? It was indeed 6:30 something.
Yeah, you did.
Probably self-corrected already. Thank you. Okay. All right. Is there a motion for adjournment at 7:12 p.m.?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right. So the motion was made by Trustee Doerr, second by Trustee Kalinsky, to adjourn at 7:12 p.m. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Nay. We're adjourned. And again, thank you very much, all of you who came and spoke. Those of you who didn't, make sure that you sign that sheet before you leave. Thank you. And